the security and the government for where we have reached. Sometimes things look so easy, but practically it's a bit difficult. But I'm happy that at least I have voted. I was a bit worried when I got here by 8:30 and there was nobody. But this is almost to 12, but at least I have voted. That means that the election have commenced in this, at least in this unit, maybe some parts of the world, and the materials are yet to get there. But we have tried to have started the elections. My wish for Nigeria is for us to conduct a peaceful election. For us who are politicians, our conduct matters a lot. And I always tell politicians that, look, yes, you can win election through unorthodox means, just like using violence to win elections or buying votes and so on. But when you do that, you are behaving like an armed robber or a con man. Armed robber makes money through robbery, but everybody knows that it's an armed robber. A con man makes money through deceiving people, but everybody knows that it's a con man. They are not decent members of society. Politicians are supposed to be decent members of society. So we must conduct our affairs very credibly, that both our supporters, our relatives, and so on should know that politics is a clean business and allow people to vote who they want at any level of election. My plea is we, the politicians, the security people, the INEC operatives should do the best for the country. The whole world is looking at us. So many senior global citizens are in Nigeria because of these elections. They want us to succeed, and we must not fail.
Now, what do you have to say concerning technology? The things that were used, looking at the last time that your fingerprint could not be recognized in 2015 by the card readers. What is your take on that?
Yes, the Beaver is improvement on the card reader, and I believe it will be better than the card reader. I don't think we are moving backward. We may still have some issues. It's technology. Even your phone, you have problems with your phone. Even if you buy one of the best smartphones, sometimes you still have problems. So I'm not expecting that the whole country, that the Beaver machines will work perfectly, but it's a significant improvement. And at least we have only 105 words. In fact, by 8:30, it's really before 8:30. I've been observing elections in other countries. In most cases, everybody will be ready 30 minutes before the voting time. Everybody will be ready, including the those who will vote. Everybody will queue waiting just for that time based on the law. But here, to 12 before we vote, that is not acceptable.
Your Excellency, you always stand on the path of peace, non-violent elections, and that's you're known around when you go around Africa and the world to preach this message during elections. What is your advice to whoever loses and whoever wins?
We've all said so. Remember some 3 days ago during the National Peace Accord, where the candidates and the parties signed the commitment for peaceful elections. I would have been there physically, but I was in Bamako and I was a bit trapped. But my speech was read by Bishop Kuka, and all of us advised in the same way that, look, elections must be peaceful, and that politicians should know that they don't own this country, and nobody's political ambition is worth the blood of any Nigerian. Not at all. People should not begin to think, oh, I have money, I'm contesting as governor, I'm contesting as senator, I'm contesting as president, so people will die because you want to be president or you want to be governor. No. Totally unacceptable. And we must imbibe that. You'll be a president. Look, after I was a deputy governor, from deputy to president, that is 8 years in Aguaye, another 8 years in Abuja, but I'm back as an ordinary citizen. So you will leave that office. So you struggle to get the contestation for the position you want. Should not miss us as a human race. Should rather improve us as a human race, if you mean well for us.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we just heard from His Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Few minutes ago, he cast his ballot here at Otweke, Ward 13, Unit 39, and others are doing same. And so also his wife, Dame Patience Jonathan, and his mother came out to perform her civic duties. She has done just that. We believe that is how it will be here. Very peaceful, I must say. But then the recurring decimal of Nigerian elections, presidential elections in Bayelsa State is that.
Okay, thank you, Vieteme. I mean, that's the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, casting his ballot. And I think that after seeing Asiwaju and Atiku Abubakar, now we have the Labour Party candidate almost getting close to casting his ballot. But by the way, those were very strong, clear, statesmanly delivery by the former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. You know,
very. I was hoping, because there were some things he said that are words on marble, and I wish after this you cut out those words and put them somewhere. They are words for the ages.
Absolutely.
He said no contestation, should decrease us. Any contestation for position should not diminish us, but should increase us. And then he now says that the politician who behaves in an unorthodox manner and thinks that the only way to get to power is through violence, and through the rigging of election is like an armed robber.
He likened them to armed robbers.
These are strong words.
Very.
And he now says that look, that it's about the dignity of who we are.
Absolutely.
And then when we indulge in all of those things, we are diminished as people.
Yeah.
And this is key. And if there's any politician in this country today that can make such statements and be allowed to get away with it, it is Jonathan, because he walks the talk.
Absolutely.
When he repeated what he said in 2015, before the election, that the blood of any single
election is not worth the blood of any.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's not worth the blood of any Nigerian.
Absolutely.
He showed it by the action that he took.
Absolutely.
And that was what brought us here. It is not worth my ambition.
Absolutely.
So I think he's in a position to make that statement.
Words on marble.
Exactly. They are words on marble.
Why that even makes more sense now is that if you think about the way some of this campaign, the trail that they have taken, the length that they have gone to, the mockery, the abuse, the degradation of human beings,
Yes.
Even making fun of somebody's ailment, if there's an ailment in itself, is a taboo.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I mean, Donald Trump tried this in America and it backfired. So I like the fact that you just said, Chike, that Jonathan has taken the high road and has left a legacy behind that others should follow.
Yes.
And then what is more important is that these candidates that we have, we should begin to look at the character, not just the party that you belong to.
Absolutely.
The character of the man. Do you understand?
Not
What
a
he
con
stands
man,
for.
not an armed robber.
Armed robber.
Those are very powerful statements.
Yes.
Powerful.
Question.
This idea.
Absolutely.
It's not about what party you belong to. It's not about what. Yes. It's not even about your political structure. That really shouldn't be why you will win an election. It helps, yes, if you have a good political structure.
Yes.
But it is not enough to make you win an election.
I think those words should hit at the very
credibility.
Very powerful words.
Somebody's
Very powerful.
ingenuity.
Very.
Do you understand?
The statement, I think, has shown that the former president is a leader, not because he has occupied leadership position, but he has that natural leadership quality.
Yes.
Some of his actions in the past, for example, it's not easy to give up in an election and concede defeat.
Especially as an incumbent.
In a continent whereby resigning is seen as weak.
8 years after. 8 years after.
In Africa, we
Dr.
have presidents that are sick and are ready to die on
He's
that seat.
telling you
So for him to have
the
taken
power
that,
is
Yeah.
transient,
Yes.
and it's a Contribute your quota and move on.
Can we use Buhari to judge that? Because in Buhari's case, he had
All right, Idayat, we also have to bring you in based on what we are discussing here and what we are saying, on camera. The strong words by the former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, basically saying, be wary of conmen, be wary of armed robbers. And then on our screen, we have Peter Obi voting, and Kwankwanso in Kano, is also out to exercise his franchise. Idayat, what are your thoughts?
I think former President Goodluck Jonathan is indeed an elder statesman. And he has redefined politics, he has the words, and he's been so fantastic. In fact, that should be word on marble, like the last speaker said, and should actually strike deep into the minds of these politicians, really. This is another, the life of, the politics is not worth the blood of anybody that he has again said today.
No, absolutely. Very strong words there.
Even means that even though, yes, Buhari has also done his own bit by maybe ensuring that everything that we used to have a corrupt election has been subsided. In other words, changing of the naira. But we cannot appraise him as much as we are doing a Jonathan, because Jonathan had the power at the time to remain, whereas with Buhari it is his exit.
Yes.
He's not coming back.
We will
so
wait
he can afford to be magnanimous.
We will wait and see how this election pans out. But on social media, things are already flying that the president, sadly, unfortunately, is a repeated offender. That this is not the first time that he will show. He did it in 2015. The pictures are out.
Well, when he raised the...
Yes, in 2019, when he voted, and he raised it to show, and interestingly, voting for himself was at that time. I think it has to do with his persona, his style.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's so much that he did it because he was trying to send a message across. Because it was his body language wasn't supporting his party, and he was trying to send a message across. I just think he just got overly excited.
But a repeated offender he will be, because again, it's against the rules.
It is against the rules.
The handlers of the president, having seen that he made that mistake in 2019, should have spoken to him before he goes to the poll that, okay, boss, this is how you should do this, just to refresh his brain.
It's just a question of telling him that the president, the law does not allow what you are doing. Please don't do it this time around.
I just think it's about excitement. I don't think it was
more on the words of the former president should be looked into in such a way that we will have laws and we will have institutions whereby it will make it difficult for a common man, for somebody to emerge through electoral fraud and all that. So I think
deceit.
Deceit. So I think we should move beyond placing it as a word of marble, and we try to look at it as words of wisdom that should be part of our policy. Because if we can remove those two
extract policies from what he's saying,
I think it will go a long way to increase performance in government, because when you know that it is the vote of the people, that is the only means whereby you can get power.
Does it look like we can see on the screen? Can we see how Kwankwanso is voting?
Yeah, but he's not lifting his.
And there are cameras.
Oh.
Is that similar to what the president did?
No, the president was more obvious.
There's no cubicle. There's no cubicle.
That's
but why don't they have the white cubicle?
That's what we're saying, that there's no cubicle. Why and then there are cameras.
And the place seems to be an enclosed.
If you are considering the electoral guidelines,
this is also
That's
wrong.
what I'm saying, that there should be a cubicle.
The secrecy of the vote.
Absolutely.
Is critical.
Absolutely.
But the cameras seem to be snapping the pictures.
That's what we're saying.
Because he should have been the only one within the
Why is it
cubicle.
so disorganized? Why is it?
Another thing is, when a presidential candidate is voting, crowd might be expected in terms of the media and maybe some of his
No, but they created no.
supporters. So I don't
But
think
they
it should
created
be-
a cubicle. They created
There should be a distance,
They
and
created
he
a-
ought to have been the only one.
No, I'm
You
saying
know.
they created a cubicle for Tinubu, even as rowdy as it was. They built a cubicle there and then.
The standard practice is that there will be a cubicle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Where,
In this
just,
case,
where
like
the
they
voter
say-
And I think it should be an
only.
open
It's
space.
too- it's
Imagine
too
him
crowded.
voting like this during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, yes.
It should be an open space.
Open space, that's
Yeah.
the law.
Yeah.
No, but why is there no cubicle? Why are they so close to him?
This is
And now everywhere is
Yeah,
rowdy.
this is
crowded
a
in.
question for INEC to answer, because this does not
It's
look
not
good.
good enough.
It does not look good.
It is so
and
wrong.
security-wise, it's not even
And
okay
those around him would
for
have
the
known
candidate.
who he voted for.
It's not
Those
even
around
okay
him.
for the candidate, because what it looks like is that Kwakwanso is under siege.
He is.
The way is that, and this is
This
not
is ridiculous.
tidy. This is not tidy.
It's not tidy at all.
This is not tidy.
And they took
And
pictures.
ideally, he ought to leave the cubicle
He couldn't even give
before
his
you
speech.
can grant an interview
Yes,
to the
so
media.
that other voters can vote, because there's
Can
no
move
time.
there.
You can't stay
Exactly.
I think these have been the most disorganized ones so
and
far.
now other voters can't cast their vote just because he is still
So
standing
you
there.
see that
So
we
this
are
is
back.
absolutely wrong.
What it shows is the INEC officials, because look, the officials are the ones that
Now they're
Where are the security
exactly
personnel? Where are
now
the
they're trying to
security personnel?
chaperone him out of. But again, the media is still standing
what
in the
he
way.
said, Chidi.
So
He said-
what it means is that nobody can vote while Kwakwanso is
Apart
still
from
in
that, it's
there.
not even safe. You remember you were talking about proximity. Anybody can be there to try to harm him.
That's
Somebody
what I
can be
said.
there with a
earlier.
knife.
So
Somebody can be
we
there
have
to
now
stab him or
seen
something.
the difference. We've seen Ashiwaju. We have
it's
seen
not
we have
safe.
seen
process is being disrupted.
we have seen Atiku. We have seen Peter Obi, and now
Well, the
Kwakwansia.
safest so far are Peter Obi and
Atiku.
Atiku. As for Ashiwaju and Kwakwanzo, it's been mayhem.
Anybody-
But more so here because it's very dangerous. Anybody could be holding a tool.
Yes,
weapon
you don't
beside
have
him
to
now.
everybody
It's not.
there
It's
is
not.
his friend
It's not. It's
or
not
his
tidy.
supporters.
It's not tidy.
And you can tell he's right.
Even if security details obviously will be overwhelmed.
They are
The way
so
things
what
are.
happens to the
Look at where they are voting.
Look at that.
It should be an open
Look at that.
space.
Space. That's the law. That's the
So what
Health
happens?
and safety
What
in
has happened to
Tatas.
the investment that has been put on security?
Health and safety in Tatas,
Exactly.
obviously.
Security
Obviously.
personnel that they said they put on ground. Where are they? None.
Everybody overwhelmed.
There's nobody in uniform
Everybody
there.
overwhelmed. Somebody should have chaperoned him outside
I'm
of that
surprised that-
How did they
enclosure.
even
I'm
get there in
surprised
the
that
first place?
the
without being
presidential-
chaperoned?
No, that's where apparently that's where they
But look at the
okay,
comparison.
that's Peter
Look at the
Obi
comparison here.
outside of the voting area. Now giving his speech to the media.
Okay, his own stampede is starting after he has registered.
He has even voted.
Or after he has voted.
He has
sorry.
voted.
No, this is Kwakwanzo one. There's something wrong. There's something gone wrong here.
It's not
Totally gone wrong.
It's not tidy.
Sir, so you have exercised your. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we have the two candidates about giving their speech almost at the same time.
Okay,
One
sir, you are
in
live now on
Agulu.
TV.
Okay.
Okay, sir, you have exercised your civil rights. So how is the process for us?
Well, for me, that was why I came. You saw me, the queue, seamlessly. That was it. When I came, I was 20 to see. We didn't be able to vote.
That it was, but Kwakwanso, let's see whether
He's certainly not seamless. You can't say it.
if he will be satisfied.
It looks like he has been ambushed.
Absolutely, But again, they seem to enjoy the crowd thing. You heard what
But
Ashiwaju
he's not
said.
enjoying the crowd thing. He's rattled.
I hope that we will hear him speak clearly and
He's rattled.
give his verdict on,
Did you see the sticks from
on
the
the
roof,
process.
from the ceiling? Any of them could have fallen over.
Okay, so let's hear him now.
Is not written on the ballot paper. And not only that, it is not very clear So these are one of the challenges that maybe it has to be addressed maybe in the near future.
All right, Your Excellency. This is the first time beavers will be used in African voters for the election. What is your impression and from the situation report you have gathered from all your polling agents across the country? How has been the performance of the beavers so far?
Now you see, what the election was started late, after 11. The system is abibasom. I went to that classroom where I was supposed to vote, but my name was not there. I had to come to this box, and I think it's applicable to many people here and elsewhere. I want to appeal to INEC to be more careful. I mean, to be a little bit more patient, so that everybody, look at the number of people around, can be able to vote before they close. I think that is very important. And I'm sure it is not only here, but across the country. Some of the places may witness such an issue which should be addressed by INEC. Well, I'm yet to receive many reports, but I believe very soon we'll get reports across.
Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you very much.
But what are your expectations? What are your expectations on the conduct of today's exercise?
Sorry?
This election, what are your expectations?
What
In terms of the conduct, what are your expectations?
Well, we are expecting free, fair, and credible election. Here, they started voting. INEC was only ready for voting by after 11. And if you look at the number, the thousands of people that are around, and the time it takes for one person, I believe they need to be a bit patient and make sure that
a massive turnout, this being your stronghold, how would you react to the fact that
You know?
Now, in the southeast of the country, there's this concerns over security.
Okay. If we are here now, I'm sure you're secure here. So it's not like there's security over throughout Nigeria. If you wait or measure it, Southeast remains one of the most secure places in Nigeria. But our own is exaggerated and often
see when we told you, are you set? Okay, like we told you earlier that when it comes to Kano, especially here, the seats, the stronghold, the hometown of Kwakwanso, you can only expect a fanatical devotion and a cult followership because of the personality in question, in context here, talking about the NMP presidential candidate, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. You can see the love, you can see the passionate friendship that Kwankwaso has demonstrated here in terms of the crowd followership. You can see the crowd, it has defied the control, it has defied even the temperature in Kano, and everyone, most people have come out here to celebrate and show solidarity for their own beloved leader, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. It's indeed a very intriguing one. The political pageantry here is quite impressive, and we asked the question if that could be taken beyond the spheres of Kano, and he kept quiet. He withdrew the sealed lips when that question was thrown at him. But for now, from what we can see, we have seen a fanatical devotion, a crowd followership, because of their belief in the Kwankwasia philosophy that he has been able to introduce to the lives and people of Kano State. From the Kwakwanso town in Kano State, we say back to you, Steve and Ruth.
Thank you, Gbenga Shiru. Good job there from Kano. But again, like we were discussing, it's quite concerning that's the situation in Kano. Not surprising, but quite concerning that Ruth, we discussed this earlier.
I know, but what I think is more worrisome is that, did he just say that they didn't start voting until 11 o'clock?
That's what he said. That's what he said. And that will not come as a surprise because Gbenga did report, at the beginning. That,
but I wonder, why didn't they have a booth there like they did for the rest? Why didn't they have the polling booths there? I wonder why.
Well, I mean, that's the thing.
I think that's part of the confusion.
Yeah, well, these are questions again that have to be asked. And they are being asked, obviously, because the guideline is very, very specific about such things. You are supposed to have that booth, and you're supposed to have it located in an open space that is accessible to everybody, including people with, disabilities.
One cannot wonder if there's a political twist to it.
Well, we'll find out. Hopefully, things
political underplay.
We can't speculate.
Can be
we can't speculate.
I'm just speculating. Because it was very strange.
Yeah, but what is obvious is that we are not seeing the ideal. That is what is concerning.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us.
All right.
It's been the most exciting morning, I must say.
Absolutely. So we want to thank everyone. Ruth, go on.
Oh, Steve, thank you. Okay, you are giving me the honors.
Please do go on.
Thank you for all our guests that have been here today. Thank you for the opinions that have been shared. Thank you for a most riveting morning. And we do hope that everyone will go out to vote to make a difference. So by this time in the next 4 years, we are discussing more positive things about Nigeria. So go out, vote, and choose your candidates wisely. Thank you.
All right, Ruth, so we'll be taking our own exit while Aaron Akerijola, will take over on the discussion on this special coverage of Nigeria's presidential and National Assembly election. Aaron Akerijola and Ni will be here. Ni Oyelowo will be here. Thank you so much. And Ruth, great job. Thank you.
Technological innovation came in handy.
Indeed, it did. Thankfully, we didn't have elections during COVID. What would have happened? Anyway,
that's a question for the history books. Of course, this year's election is said to be easily the most competitive since the beginning of democratic rule in 1999. This particular Fourth Republic, a defining moment as millions of young people are said to have registered as first-time voters. Of course, over the last couple of days, we've been seeing those statistics coming out of INEC about the various segments of the voting population as we have them. And as we've just said, the Beavers and IREV are actually critical to this process. And I was so happy when I heard some of the reports this morning indicating that in many of the places visited by our various crews, there hasn't been any problems reported with the equipment. Yeah, with the equipment used. So, record 93 million voters, but, and this is the big but which we've been emphasizing, That is not the number to watch as far as the election goes. The number to watch is the number of collected PVCs, because even if you've registered as a voter, if you don't have a PVC, you cannot vote. There are no circumstances under which without a PVC you can vote. So that number is 87 million.
And perhaps to also quickly add to that, there are those who would go and go to their polling unit, and you may not find your name on the list. What's important is that your name is on BVAS. And I think that point needs to be made for those who may be disappointed and say, I have my voter card, but my name is not on the list at the polling unit. That shouldn't matter. If you have a valid voter card, your name and record should be on that BVAS. They'll check it. Once your name can be scanned, your fingerprint can be scanned, or your picture is there on the machine, you should be able to vote.
Good news for those who may be having that difficulty, because even this morning, as part of the process of preparing for this, there were a couple of people who put in calls to ask that same question, which Ayo has just
But then the information was there days back. INEC talked about it. You know, check if you have been moved, you know, your polling unit, send a code to a certain number and check. This was done. I mean, I did mine a couple of days before.
I tried to check mine through that USSD or whatever. I'm still waiting for the reply. Maybe it has come. Maybe it has not.
Well, it might prove to be a difficult task for you to get off here and go conclude.
Unfortunately,
that
I can't. So I have to wait another 4 years.
Indeed. The surprising thing is that it's not just, and I think that's something we need to possibly emphasize, it's not just in Nigeria that there's a lot of attention on this election. As we've been reporting, Nigerians everywhere else, and even non-Nigerians, have been expressing a great deal of interest, their expectations, what they hope will happen, and what the challenges will be for this new set of leaders that are being elected today and will be elected on March the 11th. So in that regard, let's go to the United Kingdom, shall we? And our correspondent, Teniola Shobowale, is able to talk to us.
Now Oyetayo.
Now Oyetayo. All right, so let's take Teniola Oyetayo's report about expectations from there.
Nigerians in the United Kingdom are watching the 2023 presidential election closely and expressing their hopes for a better Nigeria. With no diaspora voting yet, a number of Nigerian professionals have traveled back home to cast their votes. Those who are unable to encourage Nigerians at home to exercise their rights to vote.
We have the option to make the choice to say this is the direction we want the country to be. If you don't come out to vote, then you've not really said where you want your country to go, and that choice is in our hands.
As well as inclusion in the political process, there is also a call for the incoming administration to push for a better environment for investment.
One thing the diaspora will want, number one, is representation. We also want to be able to vote, and technology will help us to do that. And I think we should be moving towards that now. It is, I mean, our president in Nigeria is still our president here, so we must be able to participate in that electoral process. That's number one. Number two, in terms of investment, you know, the diaspora want a trustworthy government. We talked about a lot of times where African countries are scarce, they don't have US dollars and things like that. The diaspora has that money. You know, remittance alone is over $20 billion, as statistics is saying. So the money is there. There are a lot of people that don't want to stay here in the UK in the winter. They want to go back home and stay in Nigeria. You know, you want to make the environment good for them. You want to make them feel comfortable and say, come and spend your money, help us to improve the economy. We saw Ghana do the year of return, which we saw the positive things around that. We want Nigeria to do things like that. And the thing there is trust. If the diasporans trust the government, they want to open a fund, they want to open a diaspora bond, they will commit to it if we know it is put to good use.
The issue of education, insecurity, and power is another major concern that many believe needs to be tackled in the short term.
For those of us in the diaspora, every time we talk to our loved ones back home, it's a big concern because you keep hearing of newer terms: unknown gunmen, unknown men, banditry, just newer terms, but it still all points to insecurity. There's also the issue around power, right? Power just seems like something we can't, it's almost like rocket science, but it isn't rocket science. It's a lot more about willpower and the political will, or the political capital that a leader needs to expend to actually fix that sector. I think those are like must wins. And there are longer term wins, right? In terms of understanding our role in geopolitics and helping to define an economic blueprint for the nation. Because I think one administration comes, we say we're all going off oil and gas, we're going into agriculture. Another administration comes, says we're all going into tech. That lopsided approach to forming a blueprint doesn't really work. And unfortunately, the world is moving fast, not waiting for us.
For medical doctor Elizabeth Peters, she says she hopes for a leader that prioritizes healthcare and the welfare of citizens.
Nigeria is a beautiful, blessed country, but it also has many places for improvement. And we need a president who can acknowledge these places for improvement, who doesn't use them as points to just score every 4 years, but actually cares. A person that cares for the health of the society, cares for the health of the nation, would focus on funding the nation's health system in a way that would transform it. Health funding not only by salaries, it's by resources, it's by computing systems, it's by making everything actually work. Putting in the machines, putting in the working machines, putting in the right staff who can work on these machines as well. It needs a transformation, and we need someone that cares about human life. Because if you value human life, you will value the purpose of making sure the health is optimal. So yes, funding to health system should be a top priority. 15% GDP is what we need to actually get it through.
The keen interest shown by the diaspora community shows that Nigerians abroad remain committed to the development and progress of their home country and are eager to see a positive outcome and changes in the years ahead. Teniola Oyetayo for Channels Television News.
We'll stay with Channels Television as we bring to you minute by minute, polling units by polling unit, state by state update of the general elections here in Nigeria. We've just come in from the United Kingdom back home here, and this is in Lagos. Our correspondent, Shola Shuyele, has been monitoring the situation in the Ikoyi area of Lagos. Let's take a look.
I am at the Salomo Ikoyi area of Lagos, and if you can see behind me, there are about 3 or 4 polling units around here. Voting started around 9 a.m. and before the voting started, the INEC officials read out the instructions. Voters had questions which were clarified, and voting had started. People had to check their names first on the list that was pasted on the wall. After finding their names, they would approach the INEC tables and cast their vote. They were told not to go with their phones, and so far so good. The process has been peaceful and calm. The turnout has been very impressive, and a lot of people here are confident that their votes will reflect the wishes of the majority. Shola Shuyele, Channels Television.
Well, from Ikoyi, let's go straight to Surulere, where we have our correspondent Chris Illems telling us exactly what we have right now.
Right, it's the D-Day for the presidential election in Nigeria. And of course, Nigerians appear set to make a choice of who becomes the next president that would lead the country for the next 4 years. Of course, we do know that it's not just the presidency that is being vied for today. We also have the National Assembly seats. Actually, over 15,000 candidates are vying for about 470 positions across the country. As of when we went out this morning, the first polling unit that we went to, voting started past 9 o'clock, at about 9:22. There is another one here, voting just started, but it's been quite orderly. The road has been smooth, while some people have decided to exercise their franchise here and in several other polling units around this place. You'll find that some young people have also decided to make the most of this day to exercise their legs in the game of football. And if you can see further down the road, you see those young people who have decided to use this day to play football. But so far so good. It's been very, very smooth. We spoke with a few persons, first-time voters, even the elderly, and they actually confirmed that it's been quite easy. So everyone is actually also waiting to ensure that when the result is out, they are here to witness it. From Surulere, here in Lagos, Chris Elems, Channels Television.
Thank you, Chris. And from Chris in Surulere area of Lagos. Let's go somewhat to the hinterlands now and to Ekiti, to be precise, where our correspondent Babajide Agbeyo has the latest on the situation. Babajide, what's going on?
This is Unit 6, Ward 3 in Ikogbosi, Ekiti West local government area of Ekiti State. And this is the unit where the governor of the state, Mr. Biodun Oyebanji, will be voting very shortly. And I can tell you, voting had been on air. Even coming from Ado Ekiti, the state capital, we've been to Ilawe Ekiti, we've been to Erijinyo and some other towns, and we noticed that the exercise has been quite peaceful and smooth. People have been getting accredited in good time. As for the working of the beavers, from those we spoke with, there hadn't been, even at some locations, no complaint at all about beavers. People just get there and they get accredited in very good time. And we've also been trying to keep our eyes on incidents of vote buying, possibility of vote buying, and we have not noticed any of that as at this moment, but we'll continue to keep our eyes on every situation at every point and at every unit. But voting is in progress, and security is also at its best for now. There's safety at all the places we've been to. From Ikogbosi in Ekiti West local government area of Ekiti State, Babajide Agbeyo for Channels Television.
Babajide Agbeyo for us there in Ekiti, southwest Nigeria. But let's go over to the southeast. We understand there have been some situation in Anambra, the situation of no beavers. Let's listen to this particular audio of what's happening there earlier today.
To go out there and then vote and then exercise my right to choose my leader who will take me to that promised land that I've been hoping of for years ago.
Have you voted before?
I think this should be my first time, although I have not been putting myself to vote because I have not been seeing any need for it. But this time, I have seen the need and the interest. That is why I took the bold step to achieve this, so that I can take back this nation. So that when I'm talking tomorrow and tell that I appoint the leader, I know that I did that myself too.
I need change in Nigeria. So I have to go from very far. Like from my house to my polling unit is like over, let me say, 16 kilometers. But I want to vote for change.
I'm going to my polling unit.
Okay, how far is your polling unit from where you live?
It's a little bit far, but not that far. I'm ready to make it.
Okay, how many minutes have you been walking?
I've walked up to 20 minutes.
And you're already determined?
Of course I am.
Well, Millicent probably meant Eastern region.
The old Eastern region.
South region. Rivers. Okay. That was actually Rivers.
But now go to the real southeast. According to what we've had in recent time to Anambra State, some situation report from Nigerians.
The situation here is simply that the INEC arrived quite some time, but they are not here with the beavers machine. All the sensitive materials are readily on ground, but the beavers machine is not here. So we felt that there is an attempt to sabotage the effort of people who came out to vote, because without the beavers machine, any vote is void. So we felt there is actually an attempt. If you look at the other side, you see that it's exactly the same situation. So INEC should do something to provide the beavers machine so that people could start voting.
I have just been informed that there is no beavers machine here. In a couple of units I visited this morning, they either don't have the beavers equally or they don't have the charger, which is not proving a problem now, but later in the day it could. So we tried to relay back to the office, that's INEC, so that could see me or could hear me asking to get the exact number of this place so that we could actually give a real-time report so that if there's any remedy, they'll start working towards it.
All right, situation report from several areas there, Ekiti, Lagos, Anambra, and then, of course, other places that we had in the course of the day. Quite a lot happening. It's, as always with elections like this, it's a mixed bag.
And it's quite a huge logistics that INEC has to deal with. Too many moving parts, if you ask me.
Actually,
literally
moving parts.
Too many moving parts at the same time. After about 10 minutes before we came on air, someone in Okwebi here in Lagos was telling us that even as at that time, their electoral officers hadn't arrived. Well, the reason I wasn't able to vote was because as at the time I got to the polling unit, the electoral officers hadn't arrived. So, well, they got there at about 9:20 something because I was saying if I don't see them, I'm just going to come to work. Next thing, about 9:20, 9:22 or thereabout, they got there. As at about 9:42 when I left, they were still setting up.
Indeed.
So that's about 30 minutes. And I don't know what's going to happen with, okay, because there's a rule we all know. The last person at 2:30 will be able to vote. On the condition, and I don't know if that's part of the guideline, on the condition that voting started as and when it was supposed to start. Now, for those whose voting hasn't started at 12 o'clock, will they also close at 2 p.m.?
What happens?
That's a question that maybe INEC will be able to speak to eventually.
Indeed. It's always difficult at this point in time. I mean, this is a big country. With different kinds of challenges, if you like, in different parts. One is not holding brief, of course, for INEC. And the voters, of course, want to exercise their franchise. That's one thing that seems to cut across all the reports that we've been receiving. I don't know if while we are waiting, because I know that there's some reports that we're waiting for from our correspondents right across the country. Perhaps if we can now go to a river state where the governor, Nyesom Wike, of course, also has his views about what has happened thus far in the electoral process today. He's disappointed that, according to him, the Beavers have not functioned optimally. Let's listen.
I'm highly disappointed. We're all told that INEC can express confidence that they are ready for the election, that the Beavers are working. They can set the crowd here. I don't believe that most people were allowed to vote with the slow working of the Beavers, because I stayed over 25 minutes there, and yet I couldn't vote, and I was told to go and come back. For that, and they would have rectified the Beavers. So I'm highly disappointed. Well, if a number of people have been disenfranchised, I mean, what do you expect? People will lose their temper, and anything could happen. And that's why we say that INEC ought to have been fully ready before letting the public know that, they're completely ready, and that they believe that Nigerians will be happy with their preparation. But there's no intention for it at all.
All right, Governor Nyesom Wike of River State expressing some level of disappointment in the functions of the Beavers. Now, I was saying before we went to Governor Wike there that it does appear that it's a mixed bag like we've had in previous elections. He's complaining about the functions of the Beavers. Earlier, I remembered listening to Dele Omoyeni in Agulu in Anambra saying that, look, yeah, we've got no problems at all. Everybody's been accredited. Everybody's
same thing.
But then on the other side of Anambra, which we also took, they had Beavers problems.
So I mean, again, it tends to be a mixed bag. And as Ayo was trying to point out earlier, There's room for some level of flexibility in all of this, bearing in mind all the logistics. We just need to know what it is that is being done, what is being planned. You heard Governor Wike there saying he was asked to go and come back. So that's to give the officers some time to fix whatever it was that was wrong with
That's also
the
hoping
Beavers.
that 2:30 window is there from now till 2:30 for that to happen.
How do we ascertain that the Governor Wike's polling unit wasn't moved elsewhere without his knowledge? But
again, I mean, they'll tell him. Now, I understand that Linda Hiwe is on standby at the International Conference Center, which is the National Collation Center, and where, of course, we have been receiving briefings from the Independent National Electoral Commission from. So, Linda, what can you tell us about the status at this point?
We probably will come to Linda
shortly.
We'll come
to Linda in a
but
moment.
Just a quick, update. Watching the vote findings, they did a quick by geopolitical zones of what when INEC got to where. And according to them, they're saying that in the southeast, it was about 6%. INEC arrival was around 7:30. The number of INEC officials that got there. On the other hand, for places like Northwest, I believe, by 7:30 a.m., INEC officials had arrived 27% of the polling units across the country, as at 7:30 a.m. today.
27. That's just a bit under 1/3 of the number.
Which is also unfortunate because over the years, the highest percentage of voters of any voter register we ever had hadn't gone beyond 35%.
Indeed.
Even from INEC's, records itself. How significantly that will change this time, I really am looking forward to it.
As well as I
really am looking forward to it. And then, there's a very, very interesting conversation that started with our colleagues in Abuja earlier in the day. We're talking about the fact that many of us probably home now, probably have gone out to vote, probably just right now at the polling units waiting. Do we even know the job description of the people we want to give jobs to? There's a lot of focus on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I know, Ladi, I recall that you would know this, but it's interesting that many people don't pay attention to the fact that the federal government, according to Bernard Kabweze, has 941 ministries, departments, and agencies. This figure was as of 2 years ago. I don't know if it's increased.
If it's increased in number, because...
And there are more than 500 corporations of the federal government. Who controls them all? One constituency, Federal Republic of Nigeria. But with supervisory oversight by those people in the National Assembly. How many are there in it?
The legislature.
I always have a problem.
360 in the House, 109 in the Senate.
Those guys are the ones who have oversights, right, on all of this. More than, I did the calc, 1,484 ministries, departments, agencies, and corporations of the federal government. And one person is responsible for ensuring that they all work. And that's the guy that we all flog when the job doesn't get done. But what happens to those other guys? On the average, each of these agencies have one head and maybe board members, 5. 1,484 multiplied by 5. I've not done that calculation. But just imagine that's the number of people that run the federal government, and we employ someone to take charge of all of that. Do we know that? And guess what the Constitution says his qualification is?
Well, SSCE.
SSCE.
Attempted.
Yeah, absolutely. For a long time I was saying SSCE until I was corrected that it's just the attempt.
So even if you have F9 parallel, as we say back in time, that's the guy.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, there is nothing wrong with it. Only how many small businesses employ anyone who
just
run the
attempted.
marketing with attempted school certs? And how much more a federal republic as Nigeria? I don't know.
Perhaps at this stage, because I can see him in our Abuja studios. I don't know if we can talk to him. Honorable West Idahosa is in our Abuja studios. Honorable Idahosa is a former member of the National Assembly. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria. Honorable Idahosa, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. What's been your experience like in Abuja? Did you vote? That should be my first question.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. I didn't vote because I had a prior engagement with the studio, and that would mean that I had to keep my obligation. So I stayed back in Abuja for this assignment.
Indeed, indeed, and we thank you so much for that. Perhaps give us an idea, a sense. We're getting reports from across the country, and it's a mixed bag. Sometimes within the same state, there are different sides of the same coin. Some say, look, the beavers are working excellently. In another part of the state, well, yeah, we're having problems with the same machine. And then in other places, real electoral materials and officials arriving late or haven't arrived in some instances. Is this, par for the course? We've gone through 6 circles already. This is the 7th under this dispensation. This is expected, right? Am I right to say that?
Yeah, you're correct. Ideally, we ought to be making progress. But one good news is that from reports reaching us, the accreditation process itself seems to be quite fast, and that would mean that the technology deployed may be in order. The only snag there is that in some areas, the BVAS itself is either faulty or is not available. But either way, I think the law has taken care of that, and the position of the law is very clear. Where that does not get rectified before 2:30 p.m. today, the automatic position of the law is that that election should be repeated within 24 hours from today. So I'm not too sure that those who are suffering the BVAS setback now should lose hope yet. I do believe that there will be rectification mode going on now. But if they do not rectify before 2:30, the provision of the law should be obliged, and people should be given the opportunity to cast their vote by repeating the exercise within 24 hours.
Well, there's a concern we raised earlier. I don't know, I hope you were able to catch that one as well. The fact that in a number of places, maybe few, depending on where the location is, a number of places, the officials, INEC officials aren't there at the time. Even maybe some of them haven't even arrived now. Some arrived quite late, some arrived an hour, 2 hours after schedule that they were supposed to be there. Yet, according to INEC guidelines, voting is supposed to terminate at 2 p.m., but those who are on the line before 2 p.m. should be able to cast their vote. Do you see a chance or a situation where INEC adjusts for the hours that they lost, or you think everyone who still, that the 2 p.m. termination time should still be maintained?
Well, I'm not too sure that is equitable in the circumstances. I think INEC has some powers to ensure that this exercise reflects its own vision and its mission for the Nigerian people, which is to conduct a credible, fair, transparent, and equitable election for the Nigerian people to elect its leaders for the next 4 years. So if a machine provided by INEC is unable to function within the voting period designated by INEC in its voting manual or in its guidelines as proposed in 2022, you cannot punish the voters for that. I think the equitable thing would be to get the proper machines and repeat the exercise the next day. And now, if, of course, there's been some lateness in getting the situation corrected, I also do think that INEC has some inherent powers to extend the voting to ensure that those who are on the line or who are available as at the time that the correction was made get the chance to vote. Because to say that by 2:30 or thereabout, according to their guidelines, the security officer should queue behind the last man and then nobody else should be allowed to be on the queue to vote is massive disenfranchisement in an area where by 12 o'clock voting has not started. Ideally, the exercise ought to pick up by 8:30 a.m. So if an area has lost about 4 hours, not to a fault of theirs, due to the intervention of a third force, it will be difficult to justify disallowing those persons to exercise their civic responsibility, in my view.
Also, as you say that, I understand that we are getting in pictures at this point of some notable personalities voting. We start off with former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is there. He is. Yeah, we have former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Of course, we all remember that former President Obasanjo was Nigeria's first president under this dispensation, having been elected in 1999 and then re-elected in 2003. I also understand that we have some visuals of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, that was the immediate predecessor of the current president, Muhammadu Buhari. There he is, arriving at his polling station in Bayelsa State. And now you have former transport minister, presidential aspirant at some point, and former governor of River State, Rotimi Chibuike Amechi, there also preparing to exercise his franchise. In Oyo State, the current governor, Seyi Makinde, is also exercising his franchise. Large crowd accompanying him there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. In Bayelsa State, Governor Duoye Diri is also exercising his franchise. Perhaps we are able to listen to Governor Diri, having cast his vote earlier, to get his first impressions of what's happening. Governor Diri.
Delayed voting here for about 2 hours, and I'm informed that it's as a result of logistics problems. But my plea is that they will equally extend the time that has already been wasted, about 2 hours that has already been wasted. That's my plea. Then insecurity, yes, there is so much that has been done in terms of security by INEC, and we have not had any major security breach. We are collating the security reports, so to speak, and we'll deal with them accordingly to ensure that everybody is allowed to cast their votes peacefully. Bimodal voting and accreditation system is one innovation that everybody's applauding, and it took a few seconds for me to be identified, and I think if it continues that way, it is one development that has come to stay.
So I guess it is a mixed bag for the different persons who are voting across the country. Well, let's hear from the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, who says the commission is working hard on ground, the different areas in the country, saying that they're working with the other security agencies to ensure the elections are credible and not influenced by any political actors. He was speaking earlier on our election coverage program, where he talked about the fact that the commission has already intercepted some suspected vote buyers, and guess where? In Lagos State and in Kaduna. He also clarified that the presence of the EFCC officials at the different number of polling units is indeed preventing vote buying. Let's listen to him.
We are investigating, and at the right time, Nigerians will get to know about it. But what I can tell you is that arrests were made and recoveries also were made. There are several ways in which, EFCC can cause an investigation. You can write a complaint. You can get it via intelligence, whether anonymously or somebody has written his name, whatever it is, and the EFCC has the powers to cause an investigation, when somebody has acted contrary to the provisions of the Act. But when somebody's lifestyle is, not commensurate with his sources of income, we can cause an investigation without complaint, whether it is by complaint, whether it is by boss, whether it is by intelligence, whether it is the EFCC that caused it. I think the most important thing that is the fact that we have seen that the laws of the country have been crossed, and we have commenced an investigation.
We mentioned, for vote buying, I don't even know. Who's the vote seller? I think that question should also be asked.
We'll be asking our guests some of that question about that a bit later.
Yeah. But, for now, let's go to Abuja. Back to Abuja. Our correspondent, Linda Kibu, is there. All right. So there you are. What's the story so far?
We are at the National Collation Center here in the Federal Capital Territory, which was opened on Thursday, and where election results from across the country will be collated and the winner of the presidential election will be announced. Now, as expected, there's heavy security presence in the ICC and its environs, and you cannot get into the ICC without a special identification card, different from what was given to other election observers and journalists monitoring the elections across the country. Now, but there's calm outside the ICC and surrounding areas, and there are some polling units a few kilometers away from the ICC. Now, since this collation center opened, INEC has been using the center to inform Nigerians on developments or updates on the 2023 elections. And by 12:30 p.m., or in a matter of minutes, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu is expected to address a news conference right here to give updates on reports he's getting from the field. Now, voting time officially was 8:30 a.m., but reports from different polling units across the country have suggested that voting did not start in some of these polling units, and INEC staff did not come on time to some of these polling units. So there's obviously a logistic problem, and INEC chairman is expected to, give details or to explain why this happened and what the plans of the commission to address this problem, and to also answer questions on if voting time might be extended for those areas that did not start voting by 8:30 a.m. Now, INEC also has a situation room right here in the ICC where its national commissioners are monitoring developments on the field and giving solutions to issues as they occur. And we expect that this collation center, maybe in the evening, will be quite filled, because for now we don't have much people here. We just have mostly journalists. But we expect that in the evening, maybe when election results will start trickling in, we'll have more local and international observers here, and more journalists will converge here later in the evening. So we'll be here throughout the day, throughout the time, until results are finally announced, and we'll be keeping you up to speed with developments as regards to the presidential elections.
Indeed. And Linda, you did mention that update we're expecting from the INEC chairman. One other thing would also be, if it is true that, for presiding officers who came late to, the polling units, if there is something in the law that says they shouldn't have a fine, or if it's an offense, it would be nice to clarify exactly that, because these are some of the reports we're getting from some polling units across the country. But then talk us through really the mood, the atmosphere. We saw pictures of people sitting by, looking at their phones, looking at their, tabs and what have you, following that. What do we expect in terms of the setup for today and with all that's going on at the moment?
So for the collation center, it's basically going to be a waiting game. For now, you just have few journalists here because the action is happening outside. So most people are on the field. And so for now, it's going to be calm here. Not much people will be here. People are on their phones, trying to, on social media, observing what's been happening across the country. But in the evening, or from the evening, we'll begin to see, maybe some election results trickling in here. And that's when the real, like I say, drama, the action will start. So for now, it's just going to be calm here. We might be having, INEC commissioners coming to brief from time to time if the developments on the field. So that's what we expect for now.
Do you have any security briefings today as well?
No, the security briefing was yesterday. We saw the IGP came and briefed and talked about how the police and in collaboration with other security agencies are trying to maintain law and order across the country with the cooperation of the military. So that was yesterday when the IG gave his brief. But I don't think he's expected to come here today. But the IGP might be going round the FCT. Typically, that's what happens during elections. Different security outfits go around the FCT to monitor, and so that's what we see outside, but not here.
Come and let me ask you, Linda. When you say that things are quite calm where it is, and then you say that maybe later on the action will switch there. You probably should prepare yourself and enjoy the respite because at that point we will have you on center hooks all around the clock. But perhaps I should ask you. A lot of people have asked us here that during the 2019 election process, where you are now was the scene, as you said, of a lot of high drama in 2019 and even in 2015. Do you get a sense that this time around we might witness some of that, going by what you know, and the fact that you have also been a witness to some of this in the past?
Well, in terms of drama, we really didn't see much drama in the 2019 elections, where the election, which was quite dramatic, was in the 2015 elections. I remember then we had the former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, express his displeasure at the way the elections were going. So that was, and that was a very, very interesting election because for the first time we saw the ruling party lose power to the opposition party. So 2019 was a bit calm. Today it's up in the air. What we know, we can say, is that there's a lot of people are really, really interested in these elections. People are coming out, PVCs. We've seen the increase in the number of PVCs being collected. So there's much interest in the elections. What that would translate to later on in the day here, we can't tell. We're just going to be here to give you updates as it unfolds.
Thank you so very much, Linda. As I said, enjoy the respite. We'll be coming to you much later, and of course, we will, of course, be coming back to you once we have the information that the INEC chairman is ready for that briefing that you mentioned, which the whole of Nigeria will be waiting to hear what his views are on what has transpired so far, and what, if anything, is going to be done to address some of the challenges already experienced. Thank you, Linda Akigbe from the ICC in Abuja. All right, let's come back here